What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another Euro 2024 fantasy video. In this one, it's my team selection for Matchday 2. So I'm going to run you through how the team is looking, thoughts on transfers, captaincy, all that good stuff, and show you how I'm currently doing in Matchday 1 as well. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. So let's start with how I'm doing in Matchday 1 so far. So I'm currently on 30 points, which puts me at 1.5 million overall rank. So not fantastic, but nothing to panic about just yet. There's still a couple more captaincy opportunities to go. So today and tomorrow, I haven't hit a good captaincy score so far. And I've got a bunch more players to play. And also, it's only the first match day. There's chips to be played, 6 more match days after this. Plenty of time to improve that overall rank. With the players that have played so far, Mittelstadt on the opening night against Scotland got 3 points. So no attacking returns, no clean sheet. Germany definitely unlucky to not get a clean sheet in that game. Scotland had like one shot, I think. And obviously the goal came from an own goal. But he did get one ball recovery point. And that shows the importance of not bringing players off your bench, like manual substitutions, until the last minute. So really, you shouldn't be bringing players into your team until the day that they play. If you're going to forget to make substitutions, of course, make them earlier in the week. But where you can, you should wait until they're actually playing. So I've only made my first substitution today, and that is to bring Fars on for Belgium, because obviously Belgium play on Monday at, I think it's the second game at 5 o'clock UK time. Because Mittelstadt, although he blanked, essentially, no attack and return, no clean sheet, he did get a ball recovery point. And so some people might have subbed him off. But the next day, I had DeMarco, and he only got 2 points. So if I'm going to sub one of those two players off, obviously it's going to be DeMarco. So that's why you should make your subs as late as possible in the match day as you can. With DeMarco, very good offensively, basically playing left wing for Italy. Probably could have had an assist on another night, but he didn't, and they did concede early on. So a little bit frustrating, but I still think he was a good pick for match day 1. 2 players who were great, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mark Gay for England. I did have the double up in defence in the end. Trent got 7 points, so 1 ball recovery point. Gay got 2 ball recovery points and finished on 8. I said this before the tournament, right? People kept saying that the England defence is weak. And I think on paper, when you look at the actual players, yes, the attack is better than the defence, right? You've got Kane, Saka, Foden, Bellingham, etc. But it doesn't mean the England defence is bad. It might be weaker than the attack, although it didn't look like that last night, but it's still good. Like Pickford's got 6 clean sheets in 8 games at the Euro competitions now. So Euro 2020 plus this one. And I think England defensively are pretty good. Walker, Pickford and Stones have been in that team for a long time now. Trippier has played left back before. And Mark Gay is just as good, and in a lot of people's eyes, better than Harry Maguire anyway. So England defence is decent. It remains to be seen what they'll do at the rest of the tournament defensively. But I would back them right now, and both those players returned for me. So happy about that. Harry Kane didn't. He blanked. It is what it is. Not too worried about that. He'll come good eventually. He wasn't great last night, to be fair. Had hardly any touches. But he still had a good chance in the second half. On another day, maybe that goes in. With my midfielders, the only 2 that have played so far are Gundogan and Szoboszlai. They've both returned, but only an assist, so 5 points each. Szoboszlai, really nice cross for the goal, but otherwise quite quiet. Hungary weren't great against Switzerland. And Gundogan, I'm almost certain he would have taken that penalty had he not had that kind of impact tackle from Porteous, who obviously got red carded. And he did have chances from open play as well. He was getting into the box from that number 10 position. I still think Gundogan is a good pick, even though Wirtz and Musiala did better. The rest of my midfielders still to play. So Sudakov against Romania for Ukraine today. In the end, the change I made from my final thoughts video was rather than have Cancelo plus a enabler like Jorginho or Chakvedetsa from Georgia, I ended up going with a cheaper defender, Gay, which I'm obviously happy about. He got 8 points. And I went for a 6.5 million midfielder. My choice was Sudakov from Ukraine. Could have been anyone else, right? But that's who I went with. I've got Kvarac Helia on the bench as well, playing tomorrow against Turkey, and Fernandes against Czech Republic. Fernandes against Czech Republic tomorrow as well. The substitution I've made is to bring Fars on because he plays for Belgium today, and I've taken off Kane. It was Kane or DeMarco. They're both on 2 points. It really doesn't matter. I've still got Lunin to play for Ukraine in goal today as well. If he doesn't do anything, I've got Costa off the bench for Portugal tomorrow. And then I've got Mbappe against Austria today and Lukaku against Slovakia as well. So my captain for today is probably going to be Lukaku. I think him and Mbappe are quite close. So I'm going to go for the guy that's slightly lower owned. If you want to go for Mbappe, that's perfectly fine. He's fantastic. Probably the better option overall. But I'm just going to take the gamble on Lukaku. So yes, I've made my first substitution. Fast came in for Harry Kane. This is how it looks like. So far, I've captained Mittelstadt for 3 points. The next day, it was DeMarco for 2. And then last night, I captained Harry Kane for 2 as well. So I'm hoping Lukaku today or Bruno Fernandes tomorrow can get me something. But right now, on 30 points for match day 1. Let's take a look at match day 2. So as it stands, I'm going to stick with the plan to not use a chip in match day 2. So it's going to be limitless match day 3 and wildcard in the quarterfinals. And so far, I don't think there's any players that I ignored specifically because I was on this strategy that have done really well. So it's looking okay so far, even though I'm only on 30 points. It remains to be seen whether that carries on into match day 2. But I'll run you through how the team is looking. So Ingo obviously still looning against Slovakia, so a good fixture for Ukraine. And on the bench, I've got Costa against Turkey for Portugal. Turkey's probably going to be a tough enough fixture for Portugal, but I think ultimately they are a strong team with a good defence. So either way, I'm hoping for a clean sheet from one of my goalkeepers. Mittelstadt against Hungary. Now, I don't think that Hungary will play as bad as they did against Switzerland, but also Germany are very good. So I think there's every chance they can get a clean sheet in that game. And I think from watching the match, he's probably the most likely defender to get an attack and return. Like Rudiger could get you something from a set piece, absolutely. But Mittelstadt from open play is probably better. Kimmich from right back can definitely get attack and returns as well. But in this game, he's listed as a midfielder. So more than happy with Mittelstadt. No plans to transfer him. DeMarco has got a tough fixture against Spain. I don't see Italy keeping a clean sheet in that match. They weren't really tested that much against Albania. They will be against Spain. If this was a long format competition, so instead of 6 more match days, we had like 20, I'd probably keep DeMarco because he's so attacking, right? And he'd have better fixtures to come later on. But Spain is going to be tough. So my plan before this, before the tournament started, was to transfer DeMarco out. And I still think that's the plan. Now, right now, I've got no money in the bank, but I'm hoping to free up 0.5 million, which I'll talk about later on, to do DeMarco to Vardio. So to bring in a Croatian defender to again target Albania, who aren't terrible by all accounts, but I do think it's a good fixture for Croatia to get a clean sheet. They did concede 3 goals to Spain, but I think Croatia were a bit better in that match than the result probably says. And I think defensively they will be better against Albania. So my plan is probably to do DeMarco to Vardio. If it was a longer format game, I'd keep DeMarco because there's every chance he can get an attack and return against Spain. But I think because I'm using a limitless chip in match day 3, and I've got 2 free transfers this week, I might as well use them, right? And I think that's probably the best use. But I'll talk about my attackers in a second. And then I've got Fast on the bench for Belgium against Romania. So as long as he plays and is going to keep his place, there's no need to take him out. He's a 4 million enabler. And then I've got the Trent and Gay double up against Denmark again. Now, Denmark is probably going to be England's toughest game. I don't think it's a guarantee they get a clean sheet, but I'm still standing by the opinion that the England defence is underrated and one of the strongest in the competition, partly because of how they play. You saw against Serbia last night, Southgate is happy to defend. Now, I'm not going to get into a conversation about whether that's how England should be playing, but from a fantasy perspective, that is a good thing, especially when you got Bellingham and Rice in front of that midfield, in front of the defence, doing so much defensive work, right? It's just incredible what those two do. So I'm more than happy to keep Trent and Gay. There's probably going to be some calls for Trent to come out of the team from England fans, I would say. I don't think it will happen. I think Gareth Southgate will persist with it because ultimately otherwise he's bringing in Wharton, Mainu or Gallagher, and I just don't see him doing that. Or he's putting Bellingham deeper and playing Foden as a 10. He's definitely not going to do that. So I think Trent will get given another go. I don't think he was terrible. Yes, there was a couple of misplaced passes. And ultimately, after about 30 minutes, it didn't go great for England. But I don't think that was a specific Trent problem. So I think he will play again. So unless any talk comes out about Trent not being in that 11, I'm definitely going to keep him. And if there is any doubts about that, the journalists will talk about it. In which case, I'll probably keep DeMarco and do Trent to Vardio instead. But as it stands, I'm going to keep him. And I think that defence overall, goalkeepers and defenders, looks pretty good. So with my midfield, I've got Sudakov for Ukraine playing against Slovakia on the Friday of match day 2, who I've not seen play yet at the time of recording. In fact, I've never ever seen Sudakov play a football match, I don't think. Sometimes that's the beauty of playing fantasy football during international tournaments. But part of the reason to have him in is because he's 6.5 million playing as a number 10/second striker, but also because Ukraine had 2 good fixtures for their first 2 match days. So I've got no plans to transfer him out. And obviously there could be injuries and stuff, which I'll keep an eye on. But as long as he's fully fit and going to start the next game, he's going to be in. Also got Gundogan against Hungary, which based on the first round of games looks like a pretty good fixture. I don't expect Hungary to be as bad as they were, but I expect Germany to be very good and Gundogan to be involved. So he's in. Currently my captain for the first day of match day 2. Although if I bring in Vardiol, he does play against Albania on that same day. And he was quite attacking-ish against Spain. Did have a really nice chance, in fact, which could have been a goal almost, or someone could have got on the end of it and it could have been an assist. So I think Vardiol, maybe to go for that captaincy haul on a defender for the opening day is going to be a shout. But I'm probably going to go with Gundogan. And then I've got Szoboszlai, who's playing against Germany, of course. I'm probably going to transfer him out. I still think overall he's a good fantasy football player to own because he's on every set piece. To the point, actually, where I think it's a little bit weird that he takes ones that are so deep because you'd want him further forward. But literally every set piece and on penalties. And if they're going to score, he is going to be involved. But Germany's going to be tough. And I can transfer him down to a 6.5 million midfielder. And that gives me enough money to do DeMarco, Vardiol. So that is still my current plan. In terms of which player I'll go for, I'm not sure yet. I want to see the rest of the games. But I'm very tempted by an Austrian midfielder over Sabitzer or Baumgartner because they're playing against Poland. Now, Poland, I think, were a bit better against the Netherlands than people expected them to be. But I still think Austria are going to be quite strong. So I could do something like Szoboszlai to Sabitzer and then DeMarco to Vardiol. That would allow me to make those transfers and have 0 in the bank. In terms of who's better between... that sounded very West Country then. Between Sabitzer or Baumgartner. I think Baumgartner from open play is probably a little bit more likely to get you a return. But Sabitzer's on a lot of set pieces and penalties as well and does like to take a shot. So I'd probably go for him instead. But I think that's where I'm looking right now for 6.5 million players. Like Rodri, let me just bring him up here. Just see if there's anyone that I'm forgetting. Rodri has got Italy, so I probably wouldn't go for him. I'm not going to go for Cruz. McTominay against Switzerland, probably not. Scotland were just poor. And Switzerland were also quite good against Hungary, so I don't think I'll go there. Chanlonlu we've not seen play yet, but it's Portugal, so that's not going to happen. I'm already tripled up on England. I'm not going to get Kimmich either. Shaqiri didn't even start the last game. There's not really too many options at 6.5, to be honest with you, that I don't already own in Sudakov. Unless someone suddenly stands out from the last few games. There's no one I'm looking at here that I think I would want to get in from what I've seen so far. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be an Austrian midfielder. I mean, I could just not get Vardiol and go for a different defender instead and keep to the 7 million bracket. But again, there's not a huge amount of options that I think are great that I don't already own because players like Xavi Simons, who started for the Netherlands, they're playing France in match day 2. Sané didn't start. Nico Williams was good for Spain, but it's Italy. Mudryk maybe for a double up on the Ukraine attack. It's probably going to be an Austrian midfielder, and I'll probably make my choice based off watching them play the first game against France. So that's the current plan there. Just to go through the other couple of midfielders, Fernandes, like I've said in previous videos, he's probably going to stay the whole way through the tournament when Portugal are in it. I think Turkey is not an easy game, but I think Portugal are definitely the stronger team there. And so far, apart from Denmark drawing against Slovenia, all the favourites have won. So it'd be interesting to see how long that continues for. And then Kvaratskhelia, who part of the reason he's in my team is because he's a bit of a talisman, right? He should take most set pieces, I think, for Georgia. On penalties, it's up in the air about whether he's going to take them. He wasn't on the pitch for the last 2, and I think he missed the one before that. So he might not be on penalties, but if they're going to score, he is going to be involved, and he's got Czech Republic. So I'm going to keep him. Plus, I can pretty much say his name properly now, or as properly as it's going to get. So he's going to stay in as well. So overall, I think the team from match day 1 looks solid for match day 2. Szoboszlai to an Austrian midfielder and DeMarco to Vardiol, probably the current plan. And then up front is Kane, Mbappe and Lukaku. No plans to sell any of those players. They're still the main goal threat for their respective nations, even though Harry Kane didn't really show it last night. I've still got faith in him. And Denmark is going to be tough, but he will get chances. Not seen Mbappe and Lukaku play yet, but again, there's no need to transfer them out. If any of them did pick up an injury, like if it was Kane or Mbappe, it's a really easy decision. I'd probably just go down to Cristiano Ronaldo, who's $1 million cheaper, and then use that money to upgrade DeMarco and probably just keep Szoboszlai. I wouldn't use a -4 points hit to transfer him out. I just hope that he would get something against Germany. If Lukaku picked up an injury, it's a little bit tougher because he's only 9 million. And again, if I want to make that Vardy transfer, I'd have to downgrade him to someone else. Someone like Dovbyk could be an option for Ukraine playing against Slovakia, possibly. I'm just going to look at 8 million forwards for a second. Dembele and Giroud probably wouldn't go there. Havertz, maybe actually. I've got a free Germany spot. It would probably be Havertz, actually. Don't even need to think about it anymore. Yeah, I've only got Mittelstadt and Gundogan. So if Lukaku picks up an injury, I would just go down to Havertz, who is someone I considered starting with anyway, and then just make that upgrade in defence. At that point, I would actually have 1.5 million to spend. So I'd maybe even go to a Cancelo instead of a Vardy. But there's probably no point discussing that too much. Like Kane, Mbappe, and Lukaku will probably be fine. So that's the current plans for match day 2. In terms of captaincy, it probably will be Gundogan on the first day. Then it'll be Kane against Denmark on Thursday. Mbappe against the Netherlands on Friday. And then Fernandes against Turkey or Lukaku against Romania on Saturday. I will say for match day 2, there's been a lot of discussion about captaincy this week so far. Obviously, I made that stick or twist video. I think if you hit double digits, it's more than reasonable to stick, right? And it's probably the most sensible decision to make. And I have said a few times, I'm not that bothered about my overall rank and what happens, so I'm willing to twist. But that also tells me that's not the best way to almost guarantee a good rank, right? If you've got 10 or more, you probably should be sticking. I know some people stuck with Havertz, and so far that looks pretty good. I would have twisted on that, but it all depends how you want to play, right? So double digits or more than fine to stick if it's on the first day. I think more so with match day 2 than 1, I'd want to stick with that as well. Like in match day 1, you had 4 more captains, including Kane against Serbia, Mbappe against Austria, Fernandes or Ronaldo on the last day as well. Who are Portugal playing on tomorrow? Yeah, Czech Republic. On match day 2, I think there's less reason to twist on some of those scores. Like if you've got Wirtz and he goes and gets another 10-pointer against Hungary, I would definitely stick because Kane's got his toughest game of the group against Denmark. Mbappe's got to play Netherlands. And obviously, you can go somewhere else, right? You could go Sudakov against Slovakia, but ultimately, the fixtures up until the Saturday for most of the heavy hitters are a little bit tougher in match day 2 than they were match day 1. But that's the captains I'm going to go for. Just one other point I wanted to talk about because people are tweeting me about this now. Your decision about whether to stick or twist has to be made on the day the player plays or the next day, right? So what I mean by that is, if you've had Wirtz in match day 1 with 10 points, your decision on whether to twist or stick has to be made by the Saturday, right? Because some people now are tweeting me saying they've got Wirtz and they're considering whether or not to twist to Mbappe, right? So they haven't twisted off Wirtz so far. That's pointless, right? Because you've missed 2 days of potential captains. Now I know for match day 1, twisting to DeMarco and Kane, for example, wouldn't have worked out. So actually keeping Wirtz in hindsight was a good decision, but do you get what I'm trying to say, right? You should decide straight away whether you're sticking or twisting. Because let's say in match day 2, you've got Havertz, right, and he gets 10 points. The decision about whether to stick or twist needs to be made before the game's on Thursday. It can't be, I might go for Ronaldo against Turkey on Saturday, because you're missing 2 opportunities in between to potentially get a bigger score. Right? I'm probably explaining this really badly, and I should have probably put a bit more thought on this before I started recording the video. But you have the opportunity to twist every day, right? I'm trying to think of a better way to explain this, okay? But if you've got the opportunity to twist every day, you might as well take them if you're eventually going to twist anyway. That's the point. Okay, so if you're on Wirtz against Scotland and you think, well, I'm going to twist to Mbappe either way, then you might as well also twist in between, right? Because you might get a huge score that you're not expecting, knowing that eventually you're going to captain Mbappe anyway. So let's just say you went from Wirtz and then you captained a Spain player like Ruiz. Let's say you just had Ruiz, luckily, who scored an assist and got player of the match. Then boom, you don't even need to worry about Mbappe. You've got a huge score that you weren't expecting. So for match day 2, if you get a good score on Wednesday, you need to decide whether you're twisting there and then, because you might as well go for players in between. That probably made no sense. I'm not going to try and explain it again. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. In terms of videos, I'm probably going to do a final thoughts video tomorrow. For match day 3, the content is going to be limited and it's going to have to be recorded in advance of most of the match day 2 games being played. It's just unfortunately that's how it's going to have to be for match day 3. For the rest of the match days, everything should be good. And obviously for Matchday 2, plenty of content as well. Hopefully that's okay. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button. Rate 5 stars if you listen on podcast. And I'll catch you again tomorrow.